Good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, I think, and we're having bar class this morning. We will start on our feet today and end on the mat. So you'll want to have your mat nearby and maybe a blanket or something to be comfortable with. You want a ball or a block for between your knees, maybe weights for your hands, and also a little step to stand on. Yoga block works really well for that. As does, just a low stool or something that lifts you off the height of the ground a little bit that you can put near to what you're using as a bar. It might be an actual bar, it might be a countertop or whatnot. All righty. So go ahead and collect those things and we'll start standing. Put my glasses on so I can see you guys. And in standing, we're just gonna walk through the feet a little bit. So make sure that you can really sense the ground underneath your feet. So maybe taking your socks off if that's helpful, or just kind of shifting a little forward and back until you bring some awareness into your feet. When you've got that, we start very simply by rising up onto the balls of the feet and then lowering. Now, often we do this with a very specific breath pattern, right? And we get very precise with our technique. I don't want you to hurt yourself, and I don't want you to be sloppy or fast, but I do want you to feel like more, this is a stretch, this is a rocking up and down, and a little bit of wake up for the calves. Do this a couple more times. It doesn't matter if the knees bend a little bit. And then on an exhale, come all the way up as high as you can go, keeping the feet parallel, and start to walk. So lower one heel as the other one lifts, and then alternate across the sides. And keep that going, allowing your weight to shift, remaining aware of sensation in the feet. And you'll feel stretch under the toes. You might feel stretch in the ankles or in the heels. We do this for just, let's say, 2 more times across the sides. And last time. And then lower both heels and bend both knees, keeping the heels on the ground. So bend the knees enough that you start to feel a little bit of stretch at the base of your calf, behind your heel and ankle. And then see if you can relax the front of the ankle. Weird, right? So where the lower leg joins the foot, that's your ankle. The front of the ankle very often gets tense when we bend into the knees. I want you to see if you can come to a height where you can spread across the front of the ankle. And again, really let sensation drop into the feet. Take a breath in, and on the exhale, lower just a little bit, continuing to relax the front of the ankle and to keep the heel on the ground. Inhale, feel like you rise up a little bit, and exhale, feel a weight into the feet, a grounding, if you will. Do this a couple more times. Come up a little bit. And of course, we're stretching the back of your ankle and maybe under the heel. One more time. Take a breath here at the bottom of your stretch. And then exhale, legs go long. Inhale, heels rise. Exhale, heels lower. Drop your chin to your chest. And roll your right ear towards your right shoulder. Take a breath. Chin rolls down, maybe on the exhale, and the head sweeps to the left ear to left shoulder. Inhale. You do this again, allowing movement in the head and in the neck, but not disrupting the line of the spine. So you never want to feel cut off from the rest of you. Then bend the knees and sweep the torso to the right. Stretch as you bring the head up. Bend the knees. Sweep the torso to the left. and up. Extend your arms in front of you and then lightly touch your shoulder tops. We did this a time or two before. We'll start to inhale and lift the elbows. And exhale, bend into the knees. And as the elbows sweep past your sides, round your spine. Inhale, stretch your legs and lift up the elbows, stretching under the shoulder. And then exhale, bend into your knees. Relax the front of your ankles, round through your spine, release through your neck. Do this another time. Up and then down. Stand up, lift the elbows in front of the shoulders, and then on your inhale breath, open across. So moving more laterally than up and down. On your exhale, round in. You can bring the elbows to touch. We stay on straight legs for this. Open, inhale. And exhale, round. One more, open and round. Release the arms and shake out your shoulders a little bit. Find your ball or block or whatever you're using between the inner thighs. I use a yoga block this morning. Yeah. And stand on your feet, still aware of your feet, still relaxing through the front of the ankles. We're going to start with our plies and our stretches. This time, for our purposes this morning, we will exhale as we bend the knees, squeezing the block lightly, relaxing the ankles, letting our weight move down into ground. And on the inhale breath, stretch your legs. Exhale, bend into the knees. Feel the release of your weight into ground. Hold inner thighs though. Feel light toning in pelvic floor as well, particularly on the inhale as you stretch your legs. Exhale, bend your knees. Relax the front of the ankles and inhale, stretch your legs. We do this 2 more times. Get a feeling of length upward as the hips lower downward. We're kind of tractioning in both directions with this breath. Inhale. And one more. Exhale, rises through the crown as the hips drop away. Inhale, keep your kegel, stretch your legs, and then squeezing the block, exhale, lift your heels. Inhale, lower the hips, but keep the heels lifted. And exhale, plant those heels, relax the front of the ankles. Keep your kegel, inhale, stretch the legs, and we rise up again, squeezing the block, exhaling, pushing through the line of the big toes. Inhale, lowering the hips by bending the knees. Exhale, heels down. You'll tilt forward a little bit here. And then inhale, stretch. And we do this 4 more times, so a total of 6. Exhale. Keep the spine more or less vertical as you bend the knees with the heels lifted. Now, as you place the heels, allow an adjustment in the angle of your torso. Similarly, when you straighten the legs, 3 more. In, exhale up, pardon me. Inhale, bend. Squeezing the block, exhale, lengthen your hips away from your crown. And inhale, straighten. Exhale. Inhale. Now the last one, we'll add a little extra at the top. Exhale. And pause. We're going to inhale and bend just a little bit. Now the exhale pulses upward. Bend just a little bit. Keep your weight over the inner line of the thighs and exhale, fully extend the legs. Keep your kegel. Inhale, release the knees a bit, and exhale, push through the ground, the big toes, all the way up. We have 4 more. As you pulse the exhale, as you reach into your length, feel that the breath is pulsed in the low belly as well, but not gripped in the chest. And then inhale, lower your heels. Exhale, bend into your knees, tilting forward a little bit. As you inhale and lift your heels, lift the chest as well, coming to more or less vertical. Keep that stretch upward. Exhale, squeeze the block, and then inhale, lower your heels. Exhale, bend into the knees. Keep the heels on the ground. Then adjust the angle of the torso. Here to adjust as you inhale and lift the heels. Squeeze the block, exhale. Keep your Kegel, inhale, lower, and do 4 more. One more full one before interrupting. Exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale. And now exhale, bend your knees again. Keep a forward tilt of the body this time as we lift and lower our heels up. On the inhale, heels up. On the exhale, pulse down. Squeezing the block. Inner thighs squeeze much more than the knees squeeze. In fact, try not to squeeze at all. 3 more. Lift, stretch, and lower. Put the block off to the side. All right. Woo. Make little circles over one foot. And then go in the opposite direction. Shake that foot out, and we do the other side right away. Just little circles. Keep the breath moving. Good. Shake out your foot. All right. So, standing without the ball, we're going to do some single leg work here. We want to make sure that we've got good balance in the torso and good core connection, even without the assistance of the prop. So feel that the legs are aligned and become aware of the inner thighs as you press the toes into the ground. Then exhale in an upward direction. So the breath rises out of the pit of the belly, lengthening you on the way up. Keep your Kegel and inhale, draw the breath down to not only fill the lungs, but really find the length of your spine. Do that again, exhaling up and inhaling down. We exhale a final time, and as you exhale, feel weight moving into your left leg. As you inhale, pick up the right foot. And of course, you can have toes on the ground if that's better for you. Maybe a hand on the countertop. I have to find my countertop, especially if you find yourself drifting into tension or collapse into the outer hip. Stand here, and we're going to make very light knee bends and stretches, very small plies. Inhale, bend just a little bit until you feel a release in the axis of this hip, as well as the knee and the ankle. And then exhale, straighten the leg using the line of the big toe through the inner thigh. Inhale, bend just a little bit. So we're not going as deeply as we can go, just a little release, and then a full stretch. So we are inhaling as we bend the leg. We're still dropping our weight down into our foot as we preserve pelvic floor. And then exhale, ground and pelvic floor. Provide the foundation of support for the work of the leg and the posture of the spine. We do 3 more times. A little release. And a full exhale. And the little hand on the countertop thing is not a cheat if it keeps you out of irritation or tension through the outer hip or collapse. Straighten. Put your right foot down. Cross left ankle over right knee and just bend a little bit here. So we are trying to stretch that outer compartment of the hip and open the inner thigh line a little. You can explore here over the next couple of breaths how deeply you want to take the stretch, sitting the hips back. Try not to swish your tailbone out to the side in either direction. And if you want to move the ankle, you can do that. Okay. And then stand, both feet on the floor. Just briefly, you might want to switch the hand that's on your bar. We have an inhale and an exhale. Feeling the exhale breath rise up and the inhale breath pass down. Balancing our weight over the inner thigh line. On the next exhale, put weight in your right foot. And then on your inhale, peel your left foot up. You know you can modify with toes down or just pick the foot up in its entirety. Notice where your weight is gone. Right. You already know what you're looking for. Take the center of your chest and face over the center of your pelvis, over the inner thigh and big toe. And on your next inhale, bend the knee a little bit, releasing the ankle and the hip. On your exhale, push the ground down and feel space and energy moving up the leg as well as the spine. We do 8 of these guys. A little release down. And then a full stretch through the leg. And of course, as we're doing that full stretch of the leg, we're really working on activating not only inner thighs, but medial quads. So the kneecap is supported and we never hyperextend into the back of that joint. 4 more. Ankle is mobile, not gripped. Tiny, tiny bend for the knee, enough for a release, but not enough to really put a lot of strain on the joint. Last 2. And last 1. And then put left foot down. Cross right ankle over and make your figure 4 stretch. Now, I don't mean to suggest that we don't use the outer hip at all, right? The stabilizers on the outer part of the hip and the thigh are hugely important, especially when standing on one leg. But we don't want to let that be our only means of support. We don't want to lose our axis, our midline. Have a couple more breaths in and out. And then go ahead and come up and shake out the leg. Okay. So we're going to continue in a first position. And just a little reminder that the lateral rotators are under the back of the hips. They do connect to the outer part of your thigh bone, your trochanter, right, in different places. But make sure you're not using anything up here, right, to rotate. We shift our weight forward. And then under the hip, near the sitting bones, we feel the trochanters, the knobby bones out here, rolling to the back and get a sense of widening across here. As you widen across here, connect under the inner thighs, and we resume our plies. We are going to exhale as we plie again today, releasing the breath and releasing weight downward. Feel it spreading in a wide V into the feet. Keep your Kegel. Inhale, stretch the legs. And exhale. We do 6. Feel the knees reaching toward the midline of the foot. Relaxing the ankles matters a lot here. Sometimes ankle tension will cause the knees to go, in a direction we don't mean them to. Got a little adjustment there. That was fun. 3 more. Exhale. And then right away, exhale, rise, lifting the heels. Inhale down. Exhale, rise. Inhale down. If you're starting to get bored with us or feeling like you're not really working or focusing as hard as necessary or as hard as you'd like, Take your hand off of the bar countertop. We have three more. Now there's one. Feel the pelvis moving directly up and down, a little less forward and back as you go up and down. And then come up to the top one more time and pause. Slide your heels together. We're going to do little pulses at the top with the heels against each other. So we sort of close the chain between the legs at the bottom end. Inhale, bend the knees a little bit. From the big toes, engage the inner thighs, and exhale, support the knee as you stretch. Knees. Inhale, release a little. Exhale, stretch. Release a little. We have 6 more, so a total of 8. Halfway through. Feel an alignment between the front of the pelvis and the bottom of the ribs. Feel length down the back of the ribs. We have 2 more. Continue to support with medial quads rather than just pressing into the back of the joint and releasing muscular effort. Then step the feet apart and inhale, lower. Exhale, bend the knees and pause here. So like we did in our parallel position, we're just going to breathe here for a moment. We have that wider, more open position through the inner thighs. Keep referencing the big toes and feel like between the hips and the big toes, the inner line of the thigh bone and shin bone form a clean plane, right? That's angled in a V, of course. We will pulse downward here, striving not to tense the front of the ankles, using your exhale to lower your hips. Keep your torso upright, and inhale, come up a little bit. Exhale, down. Inhale, up a little bit. Now, the other challenge here as you relax the ankle is to preserve the arch of the foot. 5 more. To keep using the rotators under the hip rather than pinching the glutes over top. 3 more. Inhale, stretch your legs. Exhale, rise. Inhale, bend your knees. Exhale, put your heels down. And inhale, stretch. Continue, 6 repetitions total, up. When you bend your knees, don't let your weight rock back into your little toe, but continue to align and stabilize from your hips all the way down to the soles of the feet. 4 more, exhale. And inhale. Exhale. Inner thighs, pelvic floor, inhale. Two more. And 1 more. From here, separate your heels. And you can keep this wide stance, or if you feel like you even want to challenge yourself to go wider, you can go wider. We're going to do deep squats in parallel, taking the hips back and reaching the arms forward. So here's another option. If you feel like your arms and shoulders are ready for it, you can hold weights in your hands. Right. We are going to be exhaling as we bend the hips, sending the hips back and stretching the arms forward. And inhaling to come up. We'll go for a total of 8, relaxing the ankles, weight back into the heels, but toes still on the floor. Inhale. Tracking the knees with those big toes. 5 more. When you press from the ground, don't bear down into the knees or lock them back. 3 more, guys. And last one. Let your arms rest down for a moment and bring your feet underneath you. We're going to have the hands parallel to the sides and do hammer curls. It sounds really dramatic. So I like to say that hammer curls. Um, Try not to let the alternating motion, right? I'm sure you've seen guys at the gym doing this thing. Don't do that. Right? So try and keep the spine quiet without being gripped. And as you do this alternate bend bend and stretch of the elbows, um, use your core to support the work of your arms so that work isn't translated through the spine, right, or through the shoulders. We want a nice stable base for the work our arms are doing. About 10, and I know I've got 4 more to each side. Almost there. And 1 more for me to each side, maybe for you too. And then for a moment, put your weights down. So if you have a flex band, you might want to use that here, even a pair of stretchy tights. We're going to do the 100 in standing, which we hardly ever do, um, for a couple reasons. Same idea. We're not going to, jerk the body around every time we pulse the arms or every time we breathe. And we are going to start to wake up the triceps and the back of the inside of your armpit. So all those shoulder stabilizers. If you have a flex band, you put it against your thighs. If you don't have a flex band or anything, no problem. You're going to go back to the limit of where you can go and pulse there, not pushing the hips or the shoulders right forward and back. That looked a little goofy, didn't it? Okay, so if you like to use a ball between your inner thighs, you're welcome to do that with or without your flex band. Let's inhale and bend the knees. And as you exhale and straighten your legs, find the shoulders, spreading the chest and pulling the arms back without displacing the bottom of the ribs or the hips. All right. Take a breath in and begin the pulsing on the exhale. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale from the lower abs. And inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale. And inhale. And exhale. Halfway through. And inhale. And exhale. That's you guys finishing your counts. I think you have 3 or 4 more sets. Feel the work in the triceps, inside the shoulders, stabilizers in the armpit. Get it out of your neck. So pulse smaller if you're feeling it up there, or adjust the position of the shoulders. And stay connected to ground as well as to core. When you have done your last set, exhale and pull back. And then inhale and release. Shake out your arms. All right. If you got your flex band, go ahead and put it down. And maybe grab your weights again. Okay. We're going to do a lunge forward. So the purpose here is dual. We get a nice stretch for the back calf, but also we have a little bit more of a balance challenge. We're going to lean forward to the front leg and ideally have the knee over the ankle. Relax the ankles. All right. Line up your torso with your back leg and remember not to compromise the shoulders or the head. We're simply going to exhale, pull the elbows back, and inhale, extend them. Exhale, bend, and inhale, release. Exhale, feel the muscles between the shoulder blades. Inhale, keep the chest open. Exhale, and inhale. So we are also playing around with breath this morning. Sometimes we use different breaths for the same movements. Breath is an interesting tool in that regard. Let's do three more. Try not to let the upper part of your shoulder blades pinch into the back of your neck. One more exhale. And then simply step your other foot forward. Okay. Shake out your arms. We're going to continue 7 more repetitions with the other leg back. I think we did 7. All right, if you kept count, do the same number, please. Lean forward and figure out how to line up the ribs, but also align the shoulders and the head, and keep all of that. And on your exhale, bend the elbows, pull them back. Inhale. Exhale. Find the shoulder blades behind you. Inhale, open the chest in front. Exhale. Inhale. And then here's 4. 5. 6. And 7. And then go ahead and step the feet together and put your weights down for a moment. Okay. We'll take this into plank, either on the bar, on the wall, or possibly on the floor or a chair if you want a lower angle. Um, we'll be leaning forward with the torso. Both legs are going to be in back of us. So we no longer have the support of that front foot to rely on. We're going to need more core and abs and good connection into ground with the feet. Let me move some of my things here. So the other thing is, very often as we do push-ups, this thing happens, right? The top of the shoulders pinch the neck, right? And sometimes you don't even notice it happening. But I guarantee you at some point when you do push-ups, this will happen. So remembering our last exercise, as you lean into your countertop or wall, or as you stretch back into plank on the ground, make sure that you've got the adjustment through the head and the shoulders, as well as the alignment through the ribs. And we start with plank, exhaling to bend the elbows, and only go to the place where you can keep clear openness, right, through the neck and the shoulder tops, a clear pathway. And we breathe here. We're here for about a minute. Relax the ankles and use the legs without cutting off your feet. Again, that sounds pretty dire. We have 3 more rounds of breath. Work the chest and the back more than you work your neck. Work your core more than you work all of that. One more round of breath. And then push back or sit back if you're on the ground doing plank. Shake out your arms. Swing your arms a little forward and back. And just like in the 100, right, we don't want to like throw ourselves around. We're steady over our feet and we can just let our arms release a little bit. We are going to do a second set and take it into push-ups. If you prefer not to do push-ups, you can certainly do another set of plank. And if you're just done, try a wall sit, right? We'll take approximately a minute long here too. So, right, you're familiar with wall sit, right? So that's an alternative if your shoulders aren't having it today. All right. So get where you need to be and get back into your plank or lean forward into your wall. Relax your ankles and stay active through your feet and your legs. Of course, you're lining up the ribs and you're arranging your shoulders, your head position so your neck is comfortable. On an inhale breath, when you're ready to begin, bend your elbows. And on an exhale breath, push through your arms, your chest, your back, but also push through the toes, the bottoms of the feet. And if you can get both of those things going, inhaling to bend the elbows, pushing through your feet up as you push through your arms away, then you can get both core and decompression through the spine and strengthening for the shoulder girdle. If you're doing push-ups, do 3 more, please. And if you're choosing plank or wall sit, just keep breathing. The end is soon. One more. Inhale and exhale. And then relax for a moment. If you're sitting on the wall or against it with your hands, just go ahead and stretch your hips back, lean forward. If you're on the ground, you can do a shell stretch. Turn your head no, nod your head yes. And you can do any sort of cat-cow movement through the spine you like. Basically freestyle it for the next half a minute, and then we'll roll up. All righty. When you're done with that and you're standing up, go ahead and shake out the arms. And we're going to go into our good mornings. Right? We very often do this hinging in the hips. Of course, I wear the baggiest thing possible. Ideally, we're keeping our neutral spine, and that midline I talked about, head, heart, hips, tracks right through the center of the big toes as we hinge and as we come up. Now, keep your thigh muscles active, keep your ankles relaxed, and don't lock the knees, right? So your legs are supported. You can have hands on belly and ribs, belly and chest, or, chest by your sides. You've got a lot of options. I would suggest putting them somewhere where the shoulders and the neck feel neutral and happy. We're going to inhale and tilt forward from the hips. So your trochanters are a good reference here. And then exhale, push from your feet and lift from your shoulders, from your chest. Inhale. Now, of course, that whole bringing the upper body up, that lifting from the chest and the shoulders is supported at its base by your core and more importantly by pelvic floor, perhaps more importantly, certainly by pelvic floor. We do just a couple more here, comfortable with the notion of bending at the hips as we hold stability through the spine. When we're particularly at the top of our spine, our head and our shoulders are pretty far away from our center. So it requires some focus to keep them there. Okay. When you've come up, shake it all out. And find your block or your low step. Yoga block. All righty. So I'd like you to stand on the block with your outside foot. So you might not necessarily always see what my inside foot is doing. I'll try to describe it. You can feel free to ask questions, those of you who are here live. So if I have my left hand on a countertop, I want my right foot on the block. That means my inside foot is kind of in this little ditch here, right? So I'm going to stand upright on my right leg. In fact, I'm just going to bend and stretch here to activate the middle thigh, right line. And I'm going to swing that inside leg forward on the inhale. Point the toes and take it back on the exhale, firming the inner thigh, the medial quads, and keeping the knees straight as the leg goes behind a little bit. Flex and inhale, bring the leg forward. And then exhale, inner thighs, foot skimming the block as you take the leg back. And so before, where we were tilting the torso over the hips, now we're moving through a single hip. This is going to be a theme for a little bit. One more. Inhale. And if you got big, long feet like mine, you're not going to be able to point your toes totally. Good. And then bring the leg back underneath you. All righty. So now we're going to move through this right hip. Right? We keep a steady line through the left leg, through the left hip, and we tilt forward here. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale, now we're flexing at the right hip instead of the left. Exhale, extending through the right hip instead of the left. But instead of having the body fixed in space, now the leg is fixed in space, the one that we're referencing. 2 more. Inhale and exhale. Now the last one, I should have warned you, we're going to stay in our forward tilt. And we're going to bend the top knee and flex the sole of the foot. So it's right pointing upward toward the ceiling. Inhale, bend into the leg you're standing on, relax the ankle, and exhale, push from the ground. It's a push up you do with your leg, not with your arms. Inhale, bend. You're going to work your glute. You're also going to keep the line of your inner thigh. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. A total of 6, please. Try not to let the ankle grip or the toes turn into little claws. Try to keep the height of the back leg. Ooh, I'm losing it. And 1 more, please. Come on down. Step back through your left foot. Flex your right foot. Oh, and stretch over it. So stretching your glute, your hamstrings. Move your head around. And come on up. So same sequence of exercises facing the other direction. I'm just going to turn around. I think I'm just going to turn around. I think I'll turn around here. Yeah. And opposite hand on the countertop or the bar. New foot on the block. All right. So do a little orientation here. All right. The spine, the standing leg are all fixed in space. And on the inhale breath, we kick the inside leg forward, toes flexed. On the exhale breath, toes point or half point, and you take the leg behind. Inhale, flex, relaxing the ankle, pulling the toes up. Exhale, stretching the ankle. Take the leg back. Make sure that that standing leg is oriented over the inner thigh and not collapsing into the outer hip. We got 2 more of these. Inhale. 1 more. And then pause. Okay. And for this leg, for me especially, I know I have to sort of reset. Okay, got my inner hip and thigh, I've got my big toe. Now we do our tilts forward. So the standing leg is fixed and everything else rotates around this hip. Inhale, flexing forward. And exhale, lifting up. Inhale. And exhale. Keep going. Use the muscles in your belly to control the flow of the breath rather than the muscles in the neck and the chest, especially sometimes as bodies get fatigued and the neck and the upper ribs start to work really hard. We're going to tilt forward 1 last time. Inhale, letting the breath pass down through the diaphragm toward the belly. And then exhale, bend the lifted leg, square the hips and the shoulders. Inhale, bend the knee you're standing on. And then exhale, push the floor down. Do a push up with your leg. Bend, releasing the hip and the knee and the ankle. And then exhale, core of course, inner thigh, medial quad, strength through the foot. Bend. 3 more. 2 more. Last one. Come on up, step your inside foot back, heel on the block or the step, flex the foot, and stretch under the hip and the thigh. And then release, come on up. Let's throw the mat down onto the floor. Okay, shake out your legs. And we'll toss the mat down. All right. I'm going to change the angle of my camera a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. And find my clock so I don't keep you here all morning. All righty. When you sit down, go ahead and pause there before lying down. And just lean back a little bit into your shoulders. Now, the amount of weight you put back into your shoulders is entirely up to you, right? We're gonna let the knees drop a little side to side, putting a little swivel into the legs and the hips. Right. Now your shoulders and everything else are probably going to want to move in opposition to the legs or right, in some sense move along with them, and that's fine. Let that happen. You know, if you're leaning back way far, you can right, you can do a bigger stretch with the shoulders and the arms. And then come up to sitting and shake out your hands. We're going to do a little bit of wrist therapy before we go on to stretch deeper through the legs. So you put your legs in a place that's comfortable. That might mean sitting on a pillow. I'm going to sit on a pillow. Get my feet out of the way. Yeah. And then go ahead and shake out your hands for a moment. Extend your arms to the front and have the fingertips down. With the fingertips down, we're going to stretch through the elbows, but maintain the position of the shoulders, and then rotate the arms within the shoulders. So the fingers are going to make a big circle out and up, maybe spiraling in, and then out and down. All right. And don't worry, we'll take the flexion out of the wrists in a moment. For now, we're putting a little bit of spiral into the chain of the arms from the shoulders down through really the palms, the hands, fingertips. One more complete little circle inward, upward, outward, downward. And then curl the fingertips into a fist. Curl your fists into your forearms into your biceps. Lift the elbows up. Release the elbows, extending them, wrists, fingers. Do that 2 more times, curling in and really squeeze. So find your hand strength. Stretch the outside of your wrists. And one more. Good. Shake out your hands. And go ahead and bring your right foot to the ground, the knee up. Now this left leg can be tucked underneath you this way if it's comfortable, or you can extend the leg out in front if you like. I'm gonna keep mine tucked, it feels pretty cozy there. And we're gonna take a twist in the direction of the knee that's up. So turn in that direction, wrap your elbow around the knee, and put that right hand behind you, or whatever hand is in back. Now, as you do this, if it feels like the side of your neck needs a little stretch, you can dip the back ear toward the back shoulder. Another breath in. And on your breath out, bring your head to square if it's um, tilted sideways, and then return from twist. And go ahead and change out the legs. So other foot is on the ground, the knee is up, and you've got this leg wherever it needs to be. Balance your sitting bones, and we take our turn in the opposite directions. And you can, of course, tilt the back ear down if you like. Keep the feeling of groundedness through the foot that's on down and through the seat. Next time you exhale, bring the head to square and inhale, release your twist. We are going to lie down at this point. So you're going to want to take your cushion out from underneath. Mhm. If you like to have a blanket under your head, you can have that. Okay. So knees bent. Ah. And then go ahead and gather one knee in toward the chest. Keep the other foot on the floor. Give this knee a little squeeze and slowly start to stretch the bottom leg long. Let that leg rest along the floor. And then move the bent knee out to the side a little bit. We're going to do a half happy baby. It's important to keep both hips square on the ground. And if you want to grab the outer blade of the foot, you can do that. If it's better just to hold the back of your thigh, you can do that. We are going to lift the sole of the foot until it's more or less parallel with the ceiling. We want this bent knee to be out far enough that the thigh clears the side of the rib cage. Yeah. And I always place the other hand on the opposite hip just to remind it to settle, to remain open and balanced. One more breath in and out. It's a half happy baby. And then you'll allow this lifted foot to relax down for a moment, but not to return to the ground. Bend your bottom knee, put that foot on the ground, and bring it right under your middle rather than out to the left side in my case. We're going to cross the right leg over, keep the legs crossed, and tilt them off to the side. So um, know that if this is a really big ask, right, for your hips or your low back, you can stack the knees instead and do a twist that way, right? So take the version that feels best to you. The opposite shoulder can open out to the side, the arm can stretch, and the head again goes in a direction that the neck allows and that is good for the body. Have just a couple more breaths in and out here. And then bring your head to square. And maybe with the assistance of your arms, return the legs, the hips to square. Uncross. Put both feet on the ground for a moment. We'll do the whole sequence on the other side. So once you're there, you bend the other knee, picking it up, holding it in your hands. And as you're ready, you start to slide the other foot long. Stay here in this strictly parallel line for just a couple of breaths at least until you feel an openness through the front of the extended hip and a release into the crease of the flexed one. Once you've gotten that, then we can move toward our half happy baby on the other side, sliding this bent knee a little bit out of the way, right? So you want the thigh to clear the side of the rib cage. And then using same-sided hand, either on the foot or behind the thigh or on the calf, you're going to guide the sole of the foot upward, opening the angle at the knee a little bit. And again, I like my other hand on the hip just to help me feel stable and square here. Hmm. We're staying here for enough time that hopefully this hip flexor stops barking, right? Our thigh gets a little bit of a release. We can feel the spine starting to settle and the muscles in the back of the pelvis soften. One more inhale and exhale. And then you can start to release a little bit through the leg that's lifted. Bend the bottom leg, the one that's stretched on the floor. Put the foot under your midline rather than under the parallel line. And stretch the other leg over it, reaching down through the side of the waist and the hip. And you can modify with knees stacked if that's better. We take our twist in the new direction, letting the legs fall away from the top side. Shoulder dropping back. Maybe the arm extends, maybe the head turns. Two more breaths in and out. And take your time with your breathing. When it's ready to release, twist. When it's time, bring the head to square. Use your hands to help you realign legs and hips and uncross. You'll probably need to rearrange here so that we have the hips and the legs in a square position relative to the upper body. And I'd like you to lower or eliminate your head mat. We're going to finish here with just a couple of hip rolls, feeling the soles of the feet, relaxing the ankles, open the chest, soften the shoulders. Inhale, use your Kegel to anchor that breath. And then as you release your exhale, start to roll the spine up, vertebra by vertebra from the bottom end. As many exhales as you need, all the way up until you're resting on the shoulders. And of course, we're attempting to balance how we use our legs, both in terms of strength and timing. Coming all the way to the top, pause and inhale here. And then exhale, soften it all the way down. Feel space in the chest as the vertebrae behind the heart drop back down into the mat. The back of the rib cage opening with that sequential movement through the spine. Find the toughest, tightest spot. Put breath there, allow it to open. Return through neutral at the bottom. And without me talking at you, please do one more. It's the final thing we're going to do here before stretching out. When you've returned to the floor, to ground, to neutral, slide your legs long, both of them. And eyes open or closed, doesn't matter. We're going to have 3 rounds of breath, nice and soft and deep. Don't worry about your core. Just worry about, well, don't worry. Just breathe in and out, filling the lungs and then emptying. You're at home, you're by yourself. If you make a sound when you exhale, that's okay. And one more. And then eyes open if they're closed. See what's in the room. You guys, nice class today. Thanks for coming. Have a great Thursday.